from what we learned last week, and we spoke about three levels in inserting and embedding the Aleph of Geulah into Geulah. There's the level of Aleph from the word Alufay Shel Olam, the master of the world, Hashem's energy and life force that is inserted in the world. And that level is going to become revealed when Mashiach comes. But we ask that in truth, it's much more than that when Mashiach comes. So the Rebbe said that really there's three levels in the Aleph. One Aleph is the word Aluf Shalom, Hashem's power and energy in the world. Another level that we find is a higher level in the word Ulfana, that means Ulpan, learning, Torah study. Torah study is something that the Eden were also given because this was also about the higher level that would become affected through Matan Torah eventually. And then even more so, there was the level of the Geula, the Aleph that's entered, even higher than that, the level of Nifla'is, the wonders. Like we say, Nifla'is, wonders is even higher than the level of intellect. And that is, even by Yetzias Mitzrayim, was the level of wonders. As it says, that when the Geulah Asidah will come about, it'll be wonders like your wonders of going out of Mitzrayim. So Mitzrayim, there was also a level of wonders. What's the difference between Aleph as Ulfana, which is Torah? Torah still has to do with the world, even though it's beyond the world, even though it precedes the world. But there's an even higher level, the level of Nifla'os, the level of wonders. And these three things are present in general when we transform and we bring the Aleph into the Geulah and we transform it into Geulah. But the truth is, this is to be found primarily, as we're soon going to explain, in the level of the Geulah with Mashiach, that have been connected also with different levels. The level of Alufei Shalom, where Hashem is the master of the world, that has to do with the level of Malchus, and then there's the level of the level that's beyond the world, that has to do with the intellect, that has to do with Midas, and then the level of Pella. Pella is a wonder, completely no connection with the world, higher even than Chachma Bin, at the level of Keser, higher than Seder Ishtalshlus. And essentially, the Rebbe said how one has to do with spheres of Malchus, one has to do with the Midas and the Moich, and one has to do with Keser. Now, he's going to bring this out. The Rebbe is going to talk about this, how this reflects in the future redemption with Mashiach. Bottom of the page, on the left-hand side of the page, by Ois Vav, letter Vav, 2 paragraphs from the end of the page. Since the complete and true redemption comes through Mashiach, move on, it's also understood that's not just that in the Geulah there will be all three things, but in Mashiach himself it's reflected. Move on, Shagam, but Mashiach, yes, also Mashiach. There's the three aspects of the Aleph of Geulah. By first prefacing, examining, and analyzing the words of the Rambam states, Shemelech HaMashiach, the King Mashiach, whom base David is from the house of David HaMelech, Umezera Shloime, from the seed, from the offspring of Shloime. So the Rebbe is going to ask, what is so crucial and vital to even bring this down in the halacha that he has to be specifically from the offspring of Shloime? David HaMelech had many children. Why does it have to be specifically Shloime HaMelech? In a movement, seemingly it's not understood. Mashu Koisem, based David, but he writes from the house of David. Mashu Gamkin Koisem, Sefer Hayad, like he also writes in the Sefer Yad HaChazak, in other words, the Mishneh Torah La Rambam. He writes that he is from the house of Shloime. From the original quote was from the Rambam's commentary on Mishnayos, and the quote and the Rebbe says that also in Hilchos Malachim in the Rambam he also refers. He says that he's from the house of David. Nature based David Ikram Malchus, because the house of David is a primary level of kingship and rulership and governance. Even David, once David HaMelech was anointed, Zacha Bekeser Malchus, he merited and he got the royal crown. And kingship is for him and his children forever. Malchei David, the kings of David are standing forever, as opposed to the different kings, let's say, the kings that preceded David HaMelech, Shaul, and for a short time, Shaul HaMelech's son, and as well the kings of Yisrael, of the Aseres Hashvatim, before they were exiled. These were not from the house of David, and they did not keep necessarily to one particular Shevet. But David HaMelech's offspring are always going to be the king. What's the hint by including that it's only from the seed of Shloimeh that the Rambam feels it necessary in his commentary on Mishnayos and also in the Sefer HaMitzvahs to say this? It seems to be, I'm not sure exactly if in the Mishnah Torah he says this as well. I think in the Mishnah Torah he only says in the base David, and that's what the Rebbe wants to know. Why is it necessary? It's said before halacha, so it could be it's not brought down in the halacha part of the Rambam, but still the Rambam is very exact, and the fact that he brings down that it's from Shlomo HaMelech must be a certain significance. The Mashiach coming not just from David HaMelech, but from Shlomo HaMelech, and based on what we learned earlier about the three different levels in the Aleph that's inserted into the Geulah to transform it to Geulah, we will understand the connection with David and Shlomo. Yeah, Shlomo, we could say, but Pnimis Enyon, based on the inner understanding of things, according to Pnimis HaTorah, the days of Shlomo HaMelech, it was similar to the state and situation of the true and complete redemption. David, in the days of David HaMelech, there were wars. Until you poured much blood, you spilled much blood. Therefore, David HaMelech was not able to build the Beis HaMikdash because he was responsible for the spilling of much blood. As opposed to the times of Shlomo HaMelech, peace reign. That's why it's called by the name of Shlomo, from the word Shalom, peace was in his days. And the peace of Shlomo HaMelech's days is Me'ein Shleimus HaShalom D'La'aseh. It's similar to the perfect peace that's going to be when Mashiach comes. The Rebbe explains how come, why is that so? Now, by Shlomo HaMelech, there was this peace similar to the peace of Mashiach's times, top of the next column. Shlomo, we could say the reason for this is he ate Shlomo because by Shlomo HaMelech was the ultimate state of Chachma. He was the wisest of all men. This means in addition to the main idea or the very idea of kingship that Shlomo HaMelech had, he also had the perfect state of Chachma. Even more so, that the wisdom of Shlomo increased and was greater even than all the wisdom of Egypt. Egypt was known as the very wise nation, which means the addition and the increase of the Aleph, which shows on the second meaning in the word Aleph. In the word, I will teach you wisdom, the level of Chachma, Seichel, intellect, that was higher than the level of Geulah, Golus, which is the wisdom of Mitzrayim. And because of this great Chachma that Shlomo had, this higher level of the Aleph, the second level of the Aleph, Shebekoyach Zeh Kol Chachmei Agoyim Nizbatlu Be'etzem L'Gabe Chachma Shlomo. For this reason, all the sages of the nations were nullified before, essentially and totally nullified in comparison to the wisdom of Shlomo. And not through war. Al Kain Shloim Kishalom Hoy B'Yamav. That's why it was called Shloim, because it was peace in his days. Ad Umas Viu Shloimes Netzusi Agdusha, until the nations brought sparks of holiness to Shloim HaMelech. Instead of Yidden needing to go out into the world to gather the sparks, the nations brought gifts to Shloim HaMelech. Like it's known concerning the queen of Shva, or the kingdom of Shva, that brought gifts and so on, that was about bringing the sparks from their nations to Shloim HaMelech. It's similar to the ultimate peace, to the perfect peace. That's going to be when Mashiach comes. Love in the future. They will not do bad. They will not destroy, because the earth will be filled with the knowledge of Hashem. Similar to the refinement takes place through being involved in Torah. Torah refines the world in a way that it need not engage with the world. Mitzvahs, you need to come in contact with the world, and therefore the contact with the world can have or leaves the door open for negative. But Torah, we refine and elevate the world by learning about things having to do with the world and designating this is permitted, this is prohibited, and therefore we are making the berurim at a distance. That the Chachma is beriru, that with wisdom of Torah, the world becomes refined. The Eiska Torah, through the involvement in Torah. The Bittul Hara Be'etzem, in the total nullification and the essential nullification of the bad, just like Mashiach's times. In other words, involvement and learning Torah now is similar to the refinement and elevation of the sparks of Mashiach's times. The Siv that it says, V'ro kol basar, that all flesh will see the Chachma, the level of the vision of Chachma, and all flesh will know, etc. Yesh loymar. So in other words, so that is what Chachma affects. Chachma is about Re'iyah and Elikus, seeing godliness, just like it says about all flesh will see godliness, in other words, even the nations of the world, and therefore everyone will know, and everyone become nullified to Hashem. So Shlomo HaMelech's wisdom was similar to the revelation of Mashiach's times, that second level of the Aleph. Yesh loymar shezenegel l'shleimus inyan hamalchus. This also touches on the perfection of the idea of kingship. That's why by Shlomo HaMelech the kingship was in the utmost perfect way. By Yeshiv Shlomo al Kisei Hashem, like it says, Shlomo HaMelech sat on the throne of Hashem, and Matzav Shel Menucha V'Shalom, in a state of rest and peace, b'chlos in general. That's what it was like in general, a state of rest and peace. The Erech L'Malchus David, in comparison to the kingship of David, when it came to the, didn't turn the page, that are concerning the kingship of David, over there were all types of disputes and arguments and other different children and whatever, and also with Shaul HaMelech. So, in other words, it was the ultimate state of peace, similar to Mashiach's time. The Ilu Zachu, and the truth is, so similar was Shlomo HaMelech's reign to Mashiach's times, that if they would have merited Malchus Shlomo, Shlomo Sinai Malchus, so then the kingship of Shlomo was the ultimate, would have been the ultimate level of kingship. Ubayis Rishon Bayis Nitchi Begula Nitzkes, the first base of Mikdash would be the everlasting base of Mikdash, in the everlasting redemption. But Lalsh Nisar Vinyan built it to him, but since negative, untoward things came mixed into it, after his attaining the throne, Karoya Ekras or Amlocha, Hashem said, I will tear his kingship, meaning he will tear it into two. Malchus Yehuda, Malchus Yisrael, that there will be two governments, two kingships. There will be the kingship of Yehuda and Binyamin, the kingship of the Aseres Hashvatim. And after that was even worse. It was the destruction of Beis Hamikdash, and that was followed Lachreza Churban Bayis Sheni, the second destruction of Beis Hamikdash. With Golos until this final exile. The ultimate kingship will become returned back to its place through the King Mashiach. Who his kingship is going to be greater than the kingship of Shlomo. When one king, meaning Mashiach, will be a king over both the 10 Shvatim, Malchi Yisrael and Malchi Yehuda, they will not split again into two kingdoms. David, Abdi, David, my servant, will be, meaning Mashiach was descended from David, will be a leader over them forever. According to this, we could say the emphasis to Mashiach on base David and Mazar Shloim. Why is it necessary for the Rambam to emphasize that he's going to be from the house of David and from the seed of Shloim? Yachidish or Mashiach Yiyah Mimailas David Malchus Umailas Shloim Shalom. Mashiach will have the uniqueness of not just he will have the quality of David, which is the idea of kingship, and kingship is that engaging with the world, the lower level of the Aleph, the Alufish Shaloilam of Hashem, but also the level of King Shlomo, which was the idea of peace because he transcends the world. Mashiach because Mashiach will have the perfection of the idea of kingship, including also the level of Chachma of Malchus, like we said, that there's even in the exile, the Chachma of Mitzrayim, that he was overwhelmed and greater than. To such a degree, he will surpass them, Mashiach says, that the king that will rise up from the seed of David will be even more wise than Shlomo HaMelech. Ad Shleimus Inyan HaMoichin, to the ultimate level of Moichin, Bechinas Pella, the third level of the Aleph, we said, is that the letter Aleph's letters are transposed to make the word Pella, wonder. Noisef al Moichin Umidas Malchus. In addition to the great quality of intellect and the great quality of emotions, the great quality of kingship. And we see this in what we say in Nevuas Yeshaya, it's the Haftarah of the final day of Pesach, like it says, V'nocha alav ruach Hashem. It shall rest upon him the spirit of Hashem. Ruach Chachma Bina, spirit of wisdom and understanding. Ruach Eitzah Gvura, spirit of advice and might, for counsel and might. Ruach Das V'yiras Hashem, or the spirit of knowledge and awe of Hashem. U'kiyadu, as it's known, Mashiach Yehein Melech V'hein Rav. Mashiach will have both qualities. He will be both a king and a teacher. Like it says, V'yalamid kol ha'am, he will teach the entire nation, top of the second column, Torah. Mashiach will also teach the wonders of the inner part of the Torah, which shows on the third level, the highest level of Aleph, the level of Ella, the level of Niflois. So now the Rebbe says, it's not just enough for us to know that Mashiach will have these three levels of the Aleph that's the Alufish Oloilam impacting the world, and the level of the Aleph, the word Ulpan of Alimud, the Chachma of Shlomo, and then till the Aleph of Niflois. But we, as the Rebbe always wants, to be able to be ready to receive that, we need to incorporate this as well. Oy Zayin, top of the second column. They shades will call Yehudi. So that every Yid should have the capability to receive the revelation of Mashiach. There has to be by him similar to the above mentioned levels in the Aleph. How come? What does it have to do with every single Yid? This is something having to do with Mashiach. Mashiach is the great one. What does it have to do with us? He says, Kivin Shekol Yehudi, every Yid, I'm sorry, Kiyadua Shekol Yehud Yesh Benitzah Shel Mashiach, as it's known that every Yid has a spark of Mashiach in him. L'chein kol lachad v'echad omer, therefore every single Yid says, V'yiskayim bonu mikra shekosu. It should be fulfilled in us, what it says in the pasuk V'nocha alav, that should rest upon him, upon Mashiach, the spirit of Chachma, etc., etc. We just enumerated. The Rebbe is referring to the Ratzon that we say during Yom Tov. During Yom Tov time, we've learned about this in other Sichas before. During Yom Tov, before B'rich Shmei, after saying Hashem Kelach Mechanun, when the Sefer Torah is open, we say a holy Yehi Ratzon to have all types of brachas come down on us and on family and so on. And one of the ideas that's said over there in that Yiratzin, it should be fulfilled in us. The pasuk that says that will rest upon him the spirit of knowledge and the spirit of wisdom and the spirit and the awe of Hashem. How could that be? That pasuk is talking about Mashiach, and here it's talking about us. Because every Yid has in him a spark of Mashiach, and therefore all of these things that we just now spoke about Mashiach, each one of us can, to a certain degree, enact and make a vessel for Mashiach's revelation, which are represented by the different levels known as Malchus, the level of kingship, Midas, the emotional attributes, Midas, the intellect that has a connection with the emotions, and the level of the wonders has to do with Kesser, the essence of intellect. And then the Rebbe connects it with our week's Pirkei Avos. This upcoming week, we're going to be learning Pirkei Avos, chapter 4. Yes, Shloimar, we could say, this is the content of the Mishnah at the beginning of the Perek of this week, which is the 4th chapter. He enumerates 4 things about a Yid. He says, who is considered a wise person. He goes on to explain what's considered wise, someone that learns from every person. Gibar, who's considered a mighty person. Ashur, who's considered rich. Mechubed, who's considered honored or respected. Why specifically these 4 categories does the Mishnah involve itself in? You could talk about other good traits or characteristics. What's the significance of these 4 levels? Because these 4 levels represent the whole gamut of the Sfiras and Shem Yudke, Vavke, and so on. Yadua, and it's known, Shem Kineged, Arba Hadargis, these 4 character traits correspond to the 4 levels, Shemahem Mischalkim Es Sfiras, that from these 4 categories are divided the 10 Sfiras, Shemahem Mishtalshim Eser Knechs Nefesh, that from the 10 Sfiras come down by chain descent the 10 soul powers. They correspond to the 4 letters of the name Yudke Vavke. Ezel Chacham, who is called a wise one, that's the level of Chacham. Ezel Gibar, who is the mighty one, that's Bina. Bina has to do with might. Bina is likened to fire because it breaks apart an idea, just like fire breaks things apart. And it has to do with Pika it's in the line of Gvura. Ezel Achir, who's the idea of riches. Riches has to do with the idea of beauty, Tiferes. Klos HaMidas, which Tiferes, we know it's the center part of the Midas, so it includes all the emotional attributes. Ezel Mechubed, who is considered respected. Malchus, the level of Malchus, Shinyana Kavod, the idea of Malchus, the idea of Kavod, glory, honor. As we say, Baruch Shem Kivoid Malchusay, the glory of his kingdom. Since every Yid has a part of Hashem above Mamish, actually so, and not just a part of Elikah, which Elikah is more of a limited level. It's even more so, that his nation is a part of Yudke Vavke. And we know the essence of something. When you grasp part of it, you grasp all of it. So if you say that a Yid is a part of Shem Yudke Vavke, so grabbing hold of a Yid it means that you have all of Yudke Vavke. Therefore, who koilo b'soicha es kol arba oisius shel Elikah. He includes within him all the 4 letters of Elikah, which the Elikah is the level of the master of the world. We said he's so it's not just he has part of the Aleph or part of the Hey, but because he had some the when you grasp part of it, you grasp its entirety. So you have the entire level of Elikah, and the level of Elikah is the idea of godliness, the lowest level of the Aleph, the Aleph, the way it's Halufish Aloilam, the master of the world. And not only that, but also Chelik Havaya Amoy, Yudke Vavke shows Mahavaya Lakus Shalamaylam Oilam. Yudke Vavke transcends the world. Va'avoida Shaloi, and the Yid that incorporates all these different levels within him, therefore, His avoida is misbatas begilui arba inyonim elu b'soicha. It's reflected in the revelation of these four things within him. Ad la'oifen lefnim mishur sadir. Until he has these four things of being a chacham, of being an ashir, of being a gibber, of being a mechubed, doing it not just the way Torah demands it, but beyond the letter of the law, because as we know, Pirkei Avos is milah de chasidus, it's matters of piety. Piety, chasidus, means going beyond the letter of the law, which means also bechinas niflois. It's the wonders above and beyond in Torah. So again, this mission in Pirkei Avos includes the Aleph Elikah, the Aleph of Havaya, and the Aleph of Niflois Shabbat, all within the Yid. Through the fact that he has within him all the four aspects, Nasis Shleimus HaMalchus, so now becomes the perfection of kingship. Leimus Kisei HaMalchus Shal Daldra Golem Daf, the perfection of the throne of kingship, that the throne is made up of four legs. That's a perfect throne. A throne that's like standing on three legs is shaky. A throne that's solid has four legs. We know that the pasuk says that Shlomo sat on Hashem's throne. And similar to this is by every Yid. That's not only something that Shlomo HaMelech has. How come is this? They're similar just by every Yid. Ki Yehudim hem b'nei Malachim. The Chazal say Yidden are princes, and not only are they princes, but you say them as even more so. They are called Malachim. They are called kings. To such a degree that he receives a connection with being and being considered someone that's honored. That the reason why a Yid is honored is a result and comes out of Hashem's glory. And the Rebbe says in the brackets, if even on a human king we make a bracha, that whoever shared, that Hashem shared from his glory and honor with a human being, even though he's a non-Jew, how much more so does Hashem share with his glory and honor with a Yid? Let's skip over the bracket. How much more so through their connection to Torah, so then they get this type of level of being called a king. The fact that every Yid has his own letter in the Torah that's designated for him, and he has his portion in the Torah. All your children are students of Hashem. The Chazal say, who are considered kings? Rabbanon. So it means by studying Torah, by all of us being Rabbanon, we are all the level of kings. So therefore we can incorporate this level of Shlomo HaMelech, the perfection of Shlomo HaMelech. Through that we reach the wisdom of kingship. Till the perfection of kingship. And which is a koilos kol arbas and yonmanal, the way it includes all the four matters of chacham, giber, asher, mechubad, being wise, mighty, rich, and honored. That way it has the completion and perfection of the idea of a throne of four legs. Gam elu shayachim l'shleimus inyan ha'yeshiva. Also those that are connected to the perfection of the idea of being settled and sitting down. Like it says, Shlomo Melech sat on the throne of Hashem. And to add, through this also the king's head comes down below, meaning Hashem connects with us more, just like physically when a person sits down. Their height and their stature lowers down, including the head goes down. So the same thing by having the throne of Hashem, that causes Hashem's highest levels to come down to us. We get an even greater connection to the king, top of the next column. And the feet become raised up on the footstool. Through the drawing down from above to below, that's the idea of sitting down. and the raising up of the feet onto the footstool. It's all nasa shleimus hachibur dalakus shalamaylam oilam ad b'chinas niflois im oilam. What you're having over here now is even the highest level of the aleph, the level of wonders, the level of pella is being drawn down into the world. That's what happens by sitting down. Migili b'chinas aleph b'metzias ha'olam v'hagolus goyla, from the revelation of the aleph into the existence of the world, and golus in the level of goyla. We're going to skip over a little bit. The Rebbe is going to go in the next page, connecting it with Lag BaOmer. Let's skip over to the next page. Aidei Rashbi Haya Gili Pnimius HaTorah, through the Rab Shimon Bar Yochai was the revelation of the inner part of the Torah. What's the inner part of the Torah? The inner part of the Torah is Bechinas Niflois Sheb'Torah. It's the wonders of the Torah. Siddur brings down that that the Rashbi passed away on Lag BaOmer. It's a hint for what it says, Gal Einai, open my eyes, reveal my eyes, I will look at the wonders of your Torah. Because on Lag BaOmer, it was the day of the passing of the Rashbi, who revealed the wonders of the Torah, the inner part of the Torah. The main revelation of the wonders of the Torah was at the day of his passing, Nishmasa, the Nishmasa Deraisa, the soul of the Torah. The innermost level of the secrets that he revealed throughout the days of his life, until writing down these matters in the Sefer HaZoyar. So it was afterwards revealed to all Yidden, until it was in a way that they became sustained in an understanding and comprehension. The revelation of the wonders of the Torah in wisdom, understanding, and knowledge. That it similar and beginning and starting the process of the revelation of the inner part of the Torah when Mashiach comes, that when the inner part of the Torah that Mashiach comes is going to be in a way that the secrets are going to be accessible to us. The same thing, the Zohar began the process of making these secrets come down to a state of understanding, and similar to Mashiach's times. In addition to the Rashbi bringing down the inner part of the Torah into our minds, Rashbi Chiberes Pnimis HaTorah Nigla Torah, Rab Shimon Bar Yochai joined the inner parts of the Torah with the revealed part of the Torah. It wasn't two separate Torahs. And this is what the Rebbe always emphasizes. Some people like to look at, there's Pshat, there's Remez, there's Drush, there's Soid. They're not connected. They're separate Torahs. The Rebbe says it's one Torah Shlema, it's one complete Torah. And everything impacts the other. And the Rashbi as well, who was the first one to really reveal Pnimis HaTorah, showed that joining of both. In Torah itself, we find the two levels of Aleph. The difference between the revealed part of the Torah and the inner part of the Torah, it's similar to the difference between Aleph from the expression of learning and teaching, which is it's the level of intellect that has to do with the emotions, like we spoke about last week. Aleph Oisius Pella. That's the difference between the Aleph and the word wonders, Moichin Be'etzem, the level of intellect, essentially, meaning the inner part of the Torah, the secrets of the Torah. That's the highest level of the Aleph. The level of wonders, Pella. The revealed part of the Torah, that's the level of the Aleph and the word teaching and learning. And Rashbi, Chiber Eshneim, he joined both of them together. Yeshloimar, you'd say, through this power and capability, he affected the power for the revelation of godliness. Even the levels that are higher in the world, he brought down in the level of the master of the world. In other words, the highest, most level of the Aleph, he brought down to the lowest level of the Aleph. Like his famous statement, Tanya Rab Shimon Bar Yochai, Rab Shimon Yochai taught Kol Makom Shagol Yisrael Shechinei Moim, wherever the Eden went to exile, the Shechinah is with them. Galul Babel, they went to exile to Babel, Shechinei Moim, the Shechinah is with them. Galul Adam, Shechinei Moim, they went to Edom, Rome, the Shechinah was with them. This means Shagambi Yosem Bebavel Chulu Geulah, even while being in Bavel and other places, which is the exile. Yes, there is present over there the revelation of the master of the world. The Shekhinah was with them. That the Rashbi draws down the entire world, like he said, I'm able to release the entire world entirely from judgment. So in other words, it's not just that he draws it down into the Yidden, he draws it down into the world through Yachol Lifter as Kol Olam. He could release the entire world, Melashon Helen Vahester, from the world, when the word concealment and covering, Min Adin, he could release the entire world from a state of judgment and severity. Koilo Din Agolus, including also the judgment and severity of Golus. Then the Rebbe goes on and says that this is connected with the level of his yard site is on Hoid Shebahoid. Hoid Shebahoid has to do with the last of the spheres, and therefore includes all the spheres because it's number 5, and therefore it's the connecting sphere to the lower spheres. And also it has to do with the number 5 because the number 5 has to do higher than say the Shtalshmus, the Yud Kei Vav Kei, the 4 letters. The 5th letter is beyond, so that's why he was Stalkos was Hoid Shebahoid. We're going to skip down to Ois Test. And this didn't stop with the Rashbi, the Rebbe says. It goes on, Rashbi Nimshchachakak Gilui, Pnimius HaTorah, B'Torah Shalachris, and from the Rashbi came down afterwards the revelation of the inner part of the Torah following this. Ad LaDorah Arizal, until the generation of the Arizal, Shema'oz, Mitzvah Legalis is a Chokmah, from then, it's a mitzvah to reveal this Chokmah. Ula'achrizel, following this. Nois B'zai, the Gilui Torah Sachsidus, by the Abal Shem Tov HaMagid, it was increased and added through the revelation of the teaching of Siddur, the Baal Shem Tov, the Mizrich Magid, Miyaste, Torah, Siddur, Saklolis, the ones that established the general teachings of Siddur. V'oid Yoser, and this came down even more so, and this power of the Rashbi comes down even more so. The Admor Azokim, through the Alter Rebbe, Miyasu Torah, Siddur Chabad, the founder of the teachings of Siddur Chabad, Rabbi Seinis, Yeinu, Amalim, Koimei, our Rabbeim, our leaders, those that took his place. Limud Primis HaTorah, Ba'ifim the Chachma Bina V'das, the study of the inner part of the Torah in a way of Chachma Bina and Das, Ba'apotzes HaMayon Schutza, spreading the well springs outward. Maschel Mechutza Sheba'odem, beginning with spreading it outward within the outward of the person, which means Koiches HaNefesh, to spread the knowledge of Hashem into his soul powers. Ad Gam the Nefesh HaBamis, until also the powers of his animal soul. Ad lechutza sheboilam, until the outwards of the world. Me'ein v'tayamem megili pnimis ha'toira begula mitzvah shlema, similar to what those that taste on Friday afternoon from the revelation of the inner part of Torah and the true and complete redemption. And this is increased and added every generation. Instead of saying it gets less, it gets more powerful and greater. From one generation to another generation, ad till my father-in-law, the leader of our generation, until the revelation of the inner part of the Torah in this generation, and in the revelations in our generation, it increases year after year. Until the revelations of the Mamorich Siddur that were printed and are now being printed as well. And the Rebbe concludes, bottom of the page, of the Pashtus, that this expresses itself, the study of Siddur that brings this about into the world. 2 paragraphs on the bottom on the right column. Through studying Torah in general, and especially the inner part of Torah, in this Gal of Torah Chassidus, the way it was revealed in the teaching of Chassidus. Let's skip over to after the brackets on the second paragraph on the second column. Nasa Kli L'Gila L'Kus Ba'olam becomes a vessel for the revelation of godliness in the world. Poil Gilukach, Hapoil Maniful, including also the revelation of the power of the doer in the thing that's being done, which we said that's the Alufish Aloilam that becomes revealed when Mashiach comes, that will see Hashem engaged in the world, but we'll see it in the way of sight and vision, which has to do with Chachma. But even more so, we'll see Gilukach Ha'atzmus B'yesh HaNivra. We'll see the power, the revelation of the power of Hashem's essence in the created Yesh. Only He has the capability to create something from total nothingness, like explained in the Geras HaKodesh, in the Tani Kadisha, the connection with Hashem's very essence with the lowest level, this Yesh down here. The Rebbe says that this begins with us, or this beginning the way this is in the service of a Yid. Like to explain at the beginning of Tanya. The avoid of every Yid is not just in turning away from bad, that the neshama was given an oath to take. Alti Rasha, do not be a Rasha, which means don't do bad things. Elegamti tzaddik. But we were also given an oath, you should become a tzaddik. The Rebbe says, what do you mean? What does the tzaddik have to do with me? No doubt the Rebbe says in Tanya that not everybody merits to be a tzaddik. And a person does not have so much free choice whether to be a tzaddik or not. How come? Because we find ourselves a soul enclosed in a body and an animal soul in this physical coarse world. But despite that, through the fact that there's the power of Hashem's very essence in the physical body of a Yid, like we said earlier, Kanal, this empowers us. He could reach down here, even to reach the most highest levels, Ati Tzadik, until the level of Ti Tzadik. And the Rebbe says in the parentheses that this is similar to what the Rebbe says in Tanya, that a person needs to at least act to try to fulfill the oath to despise bad and to do whatever he can to be similar to Tzaddik, and maybe even then he will merit to actually attain it if he shows Hashem how serious he is about it. Let's skip the parentheses. V'yesh loymar, 5-6 lines from the bottom. V'yesh loymar, we could say shalachri kol ha'inyan shel biru v'zichuk shebnei Yisrael avru meshkav doiros. After all the matters of refinement and purification that Eden went throughout all the generations. So even though the Alter Rebbe in Tanya says it may not be possible for everyone to attain the level of a tzaddik, the Rebbe says that now every Yid can reach now the highest, most levels, until actually revealing the what we were given the oath, you should be a tzaddik. The revelation that all your nation are entirely tzaddikim. The way it will actually be in the utmost revelation, the true and complete redemption. Now when Mashiach comes, we'll all be in a way of a tzaddik. That through this, that the avoid of spreading the well springs of Chassidus outward, we have the power to reveal and draw down godliness in the world. Until an outside, that there's nothing more outside than that. The kli, all of the above becomes a preparation, a vessel, that the glory of Hashem will become revealed. In the true and complete redemption. The involvement in the entire world will only be to know Hashem, and to the revelation of the inner part of the Torah, until and be in such a state that your eyes will see your master. So he said in Oisyud, Hayram is a pashtus. The simple lesson from this is concerning the activities that Yidden have to do to speed up even more so the redemption. In addition to his activities in his portion of the world, Ad b'chol olam, until he does so in the entire world. To reveal how Hashem is the master of the world, in the world, in every matter in the world, and especially through using all matters of the world for the sake of heaven and to know Him, to such a degree that everything in this world reveals Hashem's glory. That's the lowest level of the Aleph, as we spoke about last week. That's the Aleph of the Alufishal Olam that we are inserted in the Geulah to make it into Geulah. Well, we have to have also the second level of the Aleph. There has to be a unique and special increase in the study of Torah, and specifically b'pnimius HaTorah, which is Galso b'Torah Chassidus, in the inner part of Torah, but not so much in the Zohar, but the inner part of the Torah, the way it's revealed in the teaching of Chassidus. In a way of understanding, comprehension through Chachma Bina V'das, and that's happening, and that we can understand through Chassidus Chabad. And not only for ourselves, also to influence others around them. Through spreading Torah and Yiddishkeit, and the spreading of the well springs. At the top of the second to last column, should be the will of Hashem. Through the avodah of finishing to insert and to reveal the aleph in the word Geulah, it will immediately bring the redemption. Take it from Yad Mamish speedily, so that the way the Yidden are standing in their state and situation now, Mamish, they're standing in their garments the way they are, they will still be able to reach the level of Geulah. Let's skip over to the next paragraph. B'chol b'nei Yisrael, and all the Jewish people. B'nareinu v'zkenenu, with our youth and our elderly. B'baneinu v'neseinu, with our sons and our daughters. Hoilchem b'yachadim, calling your name, they go along with all their matters. Kasmam v'zavam itam, their silver and gold with them. V'alachas kam v'kama, and kolabat k'nesiyas v'batim adrashiv z'sifra Torah shbam. How much more so when all the shulim and all the yeshivas and the Sifrei Torah that's inside those shulim and yeshivas, including also the Sifrei Torah that they finished writing this week. That week, women in the Sheikh Chabad that concluded writing a Sifrei Torah. Obviously, they didn't write it, but it was Aidei Shtadl Shel Shkei B'nai Yisrael, through the effort of Jewish women and daughters, along with the conclusion and the whole order of bringing a Sefer Torah in that happened that week. As the custom is that when you conclude a Sefer Torah, you bring it in. It's with great joy and with dances. The kosher and myself have been a sinus tzedakah Geulah. It's connected with an increase in giving tzedakah that brings the Geulah closer. The Eretz HaKodesh in the Holy Land. Yerushalayim HaKodesh, in Yerushalayim, the holy city, Bahar HaKodesh, on the holy mountain, Beis Hamikdash HaShlishi, in the third Beis Hamikdash, Migdash Adonai Kan Yedecha, the Migdash of Hashem, your hands prepared.